All right, so all of our intervals, except for the tritone, have a mirror. The most obvious example of this, if we go through all of our intervals, right, we've got P1, minor 2, major 2, minor 3, major 3, P4, tritone, P5, minor 6th, major 6th, minor 7, major 7, let's move it over here, and then finally P8, right? So we've got all of these possibilities. Do you see that? No. I should move this over. All right, so if you take this, for example, we've got C and C, which is your perfect unison, right? Now, if you take that C and move it up an octave, so switch it. This is all we're doing, is we're taking one of the notes that's in the interval and switching it up an octave or below an octave, all right? So if we take this, we go up here, guess what we get? We get C to C, which is a perfect octave, all right? If we do this with another set of notes, so we take maybe a major second, it'll be a little more obvious. All right, so if we go C to D, now what we're going to do to find the interval of this is take the C and move it up an octave. All right, so now instead of having C to D, we have D to C. Okay, and what is this octave, or this interval right here? So we've got D, E, F, G, A, B, C, otherwise known as a seventh. And then if we count the half steps, so we've got D, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So 10 half steps are in there, which would make it a, does anybody know? Minor 7th, yeah. So major second is the opposite of a minor 7th. So you can take those two tones, and in any case you can flip them and reverse them, and you'll get the same thing. And it applies to all of them. So if we go through, we can actually line this up a little bit. Let me see if I can as far over as possible. All right. So perfect unison. Perfect unison. Minor second, major second, minor third, major third, fourth, tritone, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth. How do I manage to run out every time? P8. Okay, so we'll start down here. C to C, perfect unison. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, C to high C is a perfect eighth. All right? Minor second, if you go C to D flat, right? We can come all the way over here to the next interval, and we can actually have D flat to C. That's a major 7th. Okay? Now down here, C to D natural, major second. If we flip this and put the C up an octave, right? So C goes up here, the D stays, we have a minor 7th. All right? Same with the minor 3rd. So they all connect up, and it goes minor to major. So think about it like magnets, right? So only one side will attract. So here we've got our minor 3rd. If we keep the E flat and go up to C, we've got a major 6th right here. Major 3rd, same deal, right? So keep the E natural, go up to C, major 6th. And then with our perfect fourth, C to F. If we take that C, pop it up, F to C, perfect fifth. And then finally, last but not least, we've got our tritone, which, if we pop this up to a C, it's still a tritone. All right? So these are they're exactly the same space apart, these half steps, right? So again, 0 half steps, 1, 2, 3 half steps, 4, 5, 6. So each of these is 6 half steps apart. 7 half steps, 8 half steps, 9, 10, 11, finally 12 half steps. All right? So they're all connected. So P8 to P1, and the major and minor are opposite of each other. So major 7th is the inversion of a minor 2nd. Major 2nd, inversion of a minor 7th. Minor 3rd, inversion of major 6th. Major 3rd, inversion of minor 6th. The perfect 4th and 5th are inversions, and then the tritone is a palindrome in and of itself. So, yeah, so that is inversions. And then finally, the other thing that I want to cover are, what do you call something that's beyond an octave? So when we have something that's beyond an octave, so C to C, we call this a perfect eighth, right? And then we just keep going but adding the numbers. So we have C to, say, D natural, right? That's actually going to be a major ninth. And I just want to make sure that this is still filming. Good. All right. So, yes, major ninth. If you have a D flat, it's a minor ninth. All right. If we keep going, so C to E, that's going to be a 10th. Right? If it's E flat, it's a minor 10th. If it's E natural, it's a major 10th. All right, we go up to 11ths, 12ths, 13ths. So C to, and it's just the same, I mean, you're just getting to octaves, basically. So 10ths, 9ths are essentially seconds plus an octave, right? 10ths are thirds plus an octave. If you go C to F up here, we have a perfect 11th, which you can call it. And then if it's a G, right, because this is the equivalent of, so minor 2nd plus 8 are an octave. This is a major 3rd plus 8. Here's a perfect 4th plus 8. But we just call it a perfect 11th. If you go up to G, it's a perfect 5th plus an octave, or perfect 12th. I guess there isn't really a great term for the augmented, but if you keep going, you go to 13th. If you go up to A, 14th. If you go up to B, and obviously it's major, minor again. Yeah, and then if you go up to 15, which is basically a double octave, right? So C to high C, then it's a perfect 15th in music theory. In regular, everyday playing, you're not confronted with these too often. But I guess if you're dealing with, say, an F sharp in here, something like that, you would call it an either augmented 11th, or if it's a G flat, something like that, it would be diminished, a diminished 12th. So you kind of give it the same treatment. You just keep going with the numbers. And then beyond the 15th, you can keep going, although you're probably not going to run into it. Yeah. That's pretty much all I've got. They do have a nice little history of tuning and tuning systems, which is actually pretty cool. I would totally look into it if I were you. And I can do actually a separate lecture. I could give a whole lecture on just tuning systems, but and temperament. But basically, the gist is, so there are different systems of tuning. We have what's called most instruments. Most are tempered instruments. So that means that they are like piano, guitar. When you play a C, it's a C. Most woodwind instruments are like that. So they can't play sort of tones in between notes like a violin. So a violin